Once upon a time, in a monastery high up on a mountain, there was a young monk who felt increasingly restless. Day after day, he observed the other monks around him, feeling overwhelmed by the attitudes and words that echoed through the sacred halls. One day, unable to bear it any longer, he decided to seek out his master, a wise and serene man who always had a deep answer for any question. "Master," said the young monk, his voice filled with desperation, "I can't live in this temple any longer. The atmosphere here is unbearable. I want to leave and find a monastery where there is peace, where I can live in tranquility, away from all this negativity." The master, who was sitting in meditation, slowly opened his eyes and looked at the young monk with calm and compassion. "What has happened, my young disciple? Why do you wish to leave this place that has been your home for so long?" The young monk took a deep breath before answering, "Master, with each passing day, I feel more and more suffocated here. The other monks are toxic to me. Some of them engage in endless discussions about politics, as if power and influence were what really mattered. Others seem to take pleasure in speaking ill of me, of you, and of our brothers, spreading rumors and poisonous words. And then there are those who simply waste their time, indulging in gossip and idleness. How can I, amidst all this, maintain my spiritual practice? I need to go to a place where I can find peace, where there are no such distractions and negative influences." The master, listening attentively, remained silent for a moment, pondering the words of his disciple. Finally he responded, "I understand your distress, my young one. The desire to escape from an environment we consider harmful is natural. And yes, I will allow you to leave, but before you go, I need you to do something for me. One last request before your departure." The young monk, relieved to hear that he could leave the monastery, quickly agreed. "What do you want me to do, master? Tell me and I will fulfill your will." The master stood up calmly, walked over to a small water vessel nearby, and with a spoon took a small amount of water. He handed the spoon to the young monk and said, "I want you to carry this spoonful of water around the monastery. Walk through every corridor, visit every corner, and bring the spoon back to me without spilling a single drop. If you can do this, I will allow you to go to whichever monastery you desire." The young monk, confused by the request but determined to complete the task, carefully took the spoon and began his journey through the monastery. With each step, he focused intensely on the small amount of water, taking utmost care not to spill any. He passed through the silent gardens, through the halls where other monks meditated, and even through the corridors where he had once heard so many conversations that troubled him. But this time he paid no attention to anything around him, as his mind was entirely focused on keeping the water safe in the spoon. Hours passed, and finally the young monk returned to the master. Exhausted but satisfied, he said, "Master, I did it. I carried the water through the entire monastery without spilling a single drop. Now please keep your promise and allow me to go to a place where I can find peace." The master, with a serene look, smiled at the young monk and said, "Very well, as promised, you are free to go. But before you leave, let me ask you something. While you were carrying the spoonful of water around the monastery, did you hear any monk discussing politics? Did you hear any gossip about you, about me, or about anyone else? Did anyone say anything that disturbed you?" The young monk, still surprised by the question, answered honestly, "No, master. I was so focused on not spilling the water that I didn't hear anything around me." The master then nodded as if expecting this answer and said, "Exactly, my young one. You see, when you place all your attention on a goal, when your focus is total, the noise of the world around you disappears. The words and actions of others, which once seemed so disturbing, become irrelevant, mere distant echoes. No matter where you go, there will always be people who discuss politics, who gossip, who indulge in negativity. What makes the difference is where you choose to place your attention. He continued, true peace does not come from fleeing environments you consider toxic, but from learning to maintain your focus, regardless of what is happening around you. If you go to another monastery, you will find new challenges, new people who may seem just as negative as those here. But if your mind is focused on what is truly important, on your growth, on your spiritual practice, those voices will have no power over you. They will be just noise that you can ignore. The young monk, reflecting on the master's words, began to understand the depth of the teaching. He realized that the peace he sought was not in another place, but within himself. It was his own perception, his own reaction to situations, that determined whether or not he would feel at peace. The master, seeing that his disciple was beginning to grasp the lesson, concluded, wherever you are, you will always encounter people and situations that challenge you. If you are happy in one place, you can be happy anywhere. If you are unhappy, there is no place in the world that can bring you happiness. Focus on your own life, on your own path. Cultivate peace within yourself, and the world around you will become more peaceful too. The young monk, touched by the master's wisdom, thanked him deeply and decided to stay in the monastery. He understood that true transformation begins from within, and that the peace he so desired was an inner journey, not an external destination. And so, the young monk continued his spiritual journey with a new understanding, remaining in the same temple but with a fresh perspective. He learned to focus on his own path, ignoring the distractions around him, and found the peace he had longed for, not in a new monastery but within himself.